So I think we went live. We didn't have an intro.
Oh,
Yeah, already a thing.
oh, I'm so sorry. It already isn't. Oh, listen. The thing just, I was going to sing it. I want to love you. You should let me love you forever. Forever it takes, 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 takes.
Love it.
Whoosh.
Love it. You guys, welcome to the Melanated Way. I'm Linda. That is Abby. We had a few technical difficulties lately, but we're making it through. We're powering it through. So thank you for being here with us. We are finally wrapping up season 11, episode 20 of 90 Day Fiance, the Tell All Part 2. We made it.
Made it.
And we're just going to jump right in. What were your overall thoughts, Abby, of part 2?
I have so many asides that I want to ask you about. Just questions about being an immigrant and different experiences that people are having. I have some questions that I just want to hear your opinion on some of them.
Absolutely. I too have a lot of little side situations that I've been thinking about. I see that my screen is frozen. I may have to jump on my phone again and see what that looks like, you guys, because this is crazy.
Okay, she'll be back in a second. Thank you so much for hanging out with us through the technical difficulties. We are going to power through it. Okay, we're all a little family here at 90 Day the Melanated Way reviewing these shows. So listen, we're not going to run off like Shawn just because there's a minor problem. We're going to communicate, okay?
Yeah, I had to switch to my phone. You guys, StreamYard, do better, be better. If it's my computer, then computer, do better, be better. But here we are. So I'm just going to jump right in. We left off with the whole Shakina, and I guess I've been saying her name wrong this whole time. Ameni. I've been saying Amani. It's Ameni.
Well, it's spelled Amani, so I think that we made a reasonable mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But she did correct Shakina and say Amini.
Yeah, so Aminis are fighting, right? So that's where we left off. And it was all because Shakina asked Amini in confidence whether or not Annie was trans. And I personally don't think that that's a question that is a bad question. What are your thoughts, Abby?
Especially in the context, when Amini said it, she made it seem like it was a standalone question. But Shakina said no. Amini had started off asking her personal questions. And so they were having a personal conversation. And she responded with also a personal question. I think where Shakina went wrong is saying, don't tell your girlfriend. You can't ever go to somebody and tell them not to tell their partner something.
Right.
But I don't think that it was a menacing question for her to ask in the context of them having a personal conversation. However, I don't like the way that Ani responded.
I feel like, okay, you guys, I just feel like the three of them were there for drama. And I had a whole epiphany by the end of part 2 that I'm going to share with you guys later. But it was drama. Like, they wanted to get in where they fit in, and they weren't fitting in very well at all. And so I did like Aaliyah's interpretation. So she jumps in on this conversation and says, what were you asking? Because oftentimes people are asking because they think that trans women have like more masculine qualities. And so if it was in that context, then that's a weird comment, but it's not a rude question to ask because people identify as transgender. And so if you're asking out of respect, then that's one thing. And I think that that's kind of where she kind of was going. And I feel like Imani was making it more than it was because she wanted the drama, she wanted the TV time, she wanted, to feel relevant, to be honest.
Correct. She allowed it to be interpreted as a rude question, which is not very kind of her being a part of the LGBTQ family. You shouldn't allow that to be a question that becomes weaponized.
Agreed.
When it wasn't. In the context that Shakina said it, it wasn't.
Agreed. So Eric, who is Matt and Amani's friend, joined them. Okay, and he has previous relationships that he's been part of that have been throuples as well. And Sarper, because he's super funny, says, it's like a cult. And okay, Sarper. One of the things that I have as a note is that they kind of don't come across as real friends. And why I say that is I don't know if you noticed, but when Eric came out, Amani didn't look at him once. Did you pick that up?
I did not pick up on that. But maybe she can't turn her head too far.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it's from the plastic surgery, but it wasn't until he was leaving that she looked over at him. So she didn't direct any of her conversation toward their friend. And
maybe use the word friend differently than we do.
I mean, maybe. But what I'm saying is that I don't think any of this is real.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't think anything of it real. I think it's all for TV. And like I told you guys last week, these two, Matt and Amani, have been trying to get on TV and have been on TV, reality shows in the past. And I think this is a play on that. And that's why they're leaving their relationship open in the air, whether they're going to be with her, they're not going to be with her. They're ending the night with drama, like as if it was a cliffhanger. Your relationship should have been done. But you want to act like you don't know, so that we're going to tune in. I'm kind of tuned out of y'all, but that's just me.
I believe you. I'm willing to believe that some of this is manufactured on their part and they just want some kind of reality TV, I don't know, stardom or whatever else reality TV people get because of what she posted on her Instagram. The whole comparing Shakina to Shrek and making a theme song about it. You're a grown woman. What is that about?
Well, so I don't think she's a grown woman. I think that so I was going to save this to the end, but what I really do think that Amani is seeking is not only attention, but to fit in. And it just reminded me of that. You ever have in high school or in elementary school where there was this one kid, there's nothing wrong with the kid, but they were just socially awkward. And so they made everything else awkward. And then because they made everything awkward, they continue to have like run-ins with the other kids because the other kids don't understand like what's happening. That she screams that. The fact that they fought with everyone, they put their business in everyone's business. The fact that she waited at the very end, you guys, and thought that everyone was going to come and have dinner and hang out backstage when everyone's like, no, we're out of here. Like, we're done. But she wanted to hang, and she told Sarper that, hey, we're all here. We're having dinner together. That wasn't something that was going to happen. And then she waited. Her and Matt waited for every single couple, and they're like, bye, okay, bye, okay, bye. And like she was fangirling with Sarper backstage. I was like, oh, I get it. She just really wants to be accepted. She wants to be, in her mind, I think that she sees the other couples as higher in the 90-day franchise, so to speak, like more popular. Mm-hmm. They've been on more seasons. And so they really are reality, quote unquote, stars. And that's what she's trying to attain. But she's doing it, in my opinion, the complete wrong, cringeworthy way.
Yeah. Hi, Deborah.
Hey, Deborah. Yeah, it's crazy that they're not going to divorce Deborah, though. They really aren't. They're not going to divorce. They're not going to go and marry Annie. It's all foo-foo. So the other thing that I didn't like, and I would love to have your take on it, was something else that really shined to me in this episode was how Amani not only was they showed how Amani was talking crazy to Annie and saying all those messy things in the flashback that they did, and how, like, mean girling it and throwing the fact that an exotic dancer in her face, all of that. And Amani makes Annie explain her behavior. And I was like, why does Annie have to explain that? Then when it came to giving money, she turns and says, Annie, why don't you explain? And all of this seems like financial manipulation, in my opinion. Like, you feel like you own her, so she's gonna have to take the brunt of whatever people are asking. Well, you know the situation as well. Go ahead and speak. Do you see what I'm saying?
Correct.
What were your thoughts?
I thought that she was looking for Ani to give her some kind of absolution. Like, people are not going to be as mean to her if she has Ani kind of come out and say, I've forgiven her, or it's okay, or I understand her behavior, instead of her apologizing legitimately. Because she says, oh, I'm sorry, I hate watching this, but it doesn't feel like legitimate apologies about her behavior. And it's even like, I wouldn't accept an apology from someone who repeatedly does the same thing over and over again. And I felt like Shawn was really the only person who kind of stuck it to her a little bit about the things that she said.
Yeah, so he was not impressed. He's like, you want everyone to love me, love me, love me, and you want us to just think that you were having a bad day. But this is something that we've seen throughout the season, and he's not okay with it. He's like, I'm not impressed with this, and that's where you lost me. And then we go on to hearing how she tried to send this money, $4,000, and then Shawn, the host, asked, how much have you sent over the years? And now Ani tried to downplay it and act like it was only a couple of thousand. But Matt's like, no, we've probably sent her at least 60,000. And I do think, again, there's some type of financial manipulation going on here, and I'm not a fan of it. I think that they're not equally yoked in this relationship. However, I do think they're all in it for different reasons. I think Amani and Matt want fame. I think Ani wants fortune and financial stability. And so I guess they're all getting something out of it.
Right. And I guess as long as they're honest with each other, maybe behind the scenes about what they're planning on getting out of this, they're all adults who can agree to it. But I did think about Cardi B when they were talking about the money situation. Because I don't know, Hey, 1,000 Pieces. I don't know if you ever watched, was it Love and Hip Hop, whichever show Cardi B was on when she was still a dancer. She was just explaining how, like, the majority of the money that you make is not really from the time that you're dancing. It's from people like this, like couples like this, men like this, who will give you money to feel like they are a part of your life. They're a part of your world. And as long as you give them that illusion that they're a part of your life and that you care about them, then you just keep on collecting your money. And that's just really common in that world.
Right. Hey, 1,000 Pieces. So then Ani and Juan start fighting in Spanish over money sent. Juan thinks it's a red flag, and then Amani feeds into that. So she feeds into, well, I do feel like if I don't send the money, then Ani won't stay. Hello? Duh. That's it. That's all. Why are you in it? Why are you trying to convince the audience that you guys are then now gonna go and get divorced after 10 years, but you don't even believe that she really wants to be with you and she's only in it for the money? Like, I just trying to figure out where the common sense is. I don't get it.
There is none, because at the same time that she says, oh, Ani might leave because if I say no to a money request, she also says she doesn't want her to work. So because I don't want her to work, then I give her money. These two things can't be true at the same time.
Yeah, it's manipulation. So Sarper, Juan, Jessica, Stevie, Madi, they all think Ani's in it for the money. Let me know what you guys think. If you're watching a live chat or your replay, let us know in the comments in the chat whether you think Ani is in this throuple for money or for love.
And to be, so the question is, what Linda just said, but then to be, is that okay? Is it okay for her to be in the relationship just for money if that's what they're offering?
So let us know, you guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe to both channels.
Please.
Uh, please, heart. Madi says that he doesn't see where the love is in this relationship, and Shakini agrees. And again, you know our question of the day, so hit us up and let us know. To me, it seems like Amani just hired Annie to sleep with Matt so she didn't have to. Hey, Tanya, facts. I mean, that's part of it too. So that's a part that I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised because the tell-all always is lacking in questions, in my opinion. But they could have explored that because that's an issue right there, right? So you have the money issue, you have the intimacy issue, you have the marriage issue, all in this throuple, and you guys introduce a throuple for the first time in our 90-day history, and we're not exploring the issues that we should explore. It seems a little bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
So we do find out from Ani, though, that Amani has promised since day one that she would always pay the rent. And so if you're going to establish that as a base for your relationship, it should never become an issue. I mean, unless your financial situation has changed, you are the one that established it in your relationship, so you made it an issue. So don't expect the other person not to expect the rent to be paid every month. And they shouldn't have to ask you. You're the one that said, hey, I'm going to take care of your rent. I don't want you to work. So boom. The first of the month, the 30th of the month, whenever you pay your rent, when the rent is due, the rent should just be paid. Period.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Then we find out that Ani, this is why I think what Abby said earlier about the illusion that some people have that they're having a relationship with dancers is because they want to have that illusion. So she's asked if she still dances. Amani quickly jumps in and answers for Annie. And Amani says, no, she's not. And I'm not sure who it was because I can't remember, but someone's like, can we get Annie to answer the question, right? And she's like, yes, of course. Of course she's still dancing. Is
Of
that
course she is, because she is a business and she's not about to let her revenue streams deplete.
right? So now Amani thinks that what else is she withholding? And Greg jumps in there and says, between the not dancing, the money, the not money, what else is she holding back from you guys? And I just think you guys, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Because this throuple is not for real. And if you guys think it's for real, let me know. But I'm not seeing it at all.
The other reason why I don't care is because why should she trust what Amani says about taking care of her, or Minnie? Why should she trust what Minnie says about taking it when every time she gets upset, she calls her names and degrades her the same way that a man would? So why should she trust it?
Oh, I love this, Tanya. Tanya says, do you want to come in and throw money in my face and tell me how much money you have? Then that's all I'm going to expect from you. Facts.
Facts, Tanya. Facts. Facts.
Facts. So they're backstage. Everyone's talking about the throuple and all the issues and whether it's real or not. Amani wants to talk to Sarper, and Shakina tells Sarper how she was really fangirling, you guys. If you remember this episode, she was just something about Sarper. She was fangirling out. So she goes and tells Sarper how much she likes him, didn't realize how cool he was in person, and la 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 la. And then Shakina's like, oh, I don't have to stand here and watch you fangirl over my husband. So she walks away, and Amani's like, oh, if you would have let me finish, I would have told you. Whoop, 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 whoop. No, you were doing it on purpose. You knew exactly what you were doing. You were doing it on purpose to get under her skin and to cause drama. And you're constantly causing drama. Shakina gets in drama with people for different reasons, I think, like mean girl reasons, but you do it because of your insecurities. Now, I don't know if either
Mhm.
is you know, or they're equal. But what was happening in this situation where you were trying to do a fake apology is not okay. In my opinion, it's not okay. So
apology does not start with just stand there and be quiet.
Right. And then
I don't what?
And then you flip the script and turn and sit to Sarper and say, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you put up with your wife. Matt calls Shakina nasty. Like, why would she believe anything that you were saying when in one breath you're like, oh, I was about to apologize, but then you just flip it and you continue to be nasty? It's very
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not going to insult me and then think we're going to sit down and have a civil conversation. This happens to me in court sometimes. The opposing counsel will make all kinds of ridiculous objections. And then at the end, when the case is over, they'll be like, nothing personal. I'm just doing my job. I'm like, it is personal. You chose to do all of that. Right. You chose everything that you did today. That is who you are, and you don't get to escape that.
Right. Exactly. Own up to it. I'd rather someone own up to their poor behavior than act like they don't know what they're talking about. Like, what are you talking about? And it's manipulation. They try to make you feel like, what? And then a simple apology is not really a simple apology because they're not really apologizing.
Correct.
You know, when someone says to you, I'm sorry you felt that way, they're not apologizing. They're acknowledging that you felt that way and sorry for you.
Yeah. I also don't believe that you have to keep it cordial when you have had differences with somebody. I don't believe in the like, oh, just say hello and move on about your day. We just need to pass each other like ships in the night.
Don't fake the funk.
You do not have to keep cordial with me.
Yeah, don't fake the funk. I'd rather not. One of the things we do see behind stage as well is how Shakina really wants Sarper to stand up for her a little bit more. And I do feel like he should have, and he did towards the end. But what's your take on that, Abby? Should your partner stand up for you when there are disputes?
Absolutely. You should not stand there and listen to somebody badmouth me and remain a part of the conversation. And that's just not romantic partners. That's friends too. That's my good friends should not stand there and let somebody say something negative about me. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to say something, then you need to walk away.
Facts. Sarper does say that, you know, he really tried to warn Shakina to not get involved with cast members that you don't know, don't message cast members that you don't know, all of that stuff. And, you know, the 90-day franchise, you guys, it really is a little tight community. And there are like cliques where certain cast members talk to certain cast members and certain cast members don't talk to certain cast members. The whole thing, you know, it is. It's like, it's like high school for grown folks. So they all go back on stage. They're about to start filming again, and she kind of makes it clear to everyone that she really did feel like she was not being protected by her husband or supported. And he goes and says, you know, I friggin' love you and I'll show you. And he walks off the stage. He comes back. He has something to give her. And it was a big, y'all, that ring was so big. It was like blinding me. It was so big. Huge ring. And Sarper's like, I know. Don't show me it. It hurts. It hurts. And now calls her Lord of the Rings, which I too also think is hilarious.
Yeah, all of that was funny. Situational humor is he's got it.
He really does. And you guys, I told you guys and showed you guys that I went to see him. He actually, so one of the promoters on my phone, I'm always looking for my phone and I'm on my phone because, you know, StreamYard is not being cooperative with me. But he is performing on the 13th in Burbank, California. One of the promoters reached out to me, and I'll pop it up on the 90-day Melanated Way pages for anyone that's in the California area that wants to go. He's a good show, you guys. And he's one of the headliners, so I'll definitely pass that along. But I have seen him perform, and he is very, very funny. Moving on to Jessica and Juan. There wasn't really anything that was going on with them, really. So David and the boys are good. Dayton, their son, got a horse named Tess. Super random. They showed us a picture, and then that was all that was said. Living in Timbuktu has been tough on Juan, because what we do learn in this tell-all is that back home, while he was working on the ships, he was also investing in real estate and building apartments and all of that. But he's had to take a hit on that because he doesn't have the money to continue to move forward with that. So he's really, really struggling. He did receive his green card, and is doing small jobs on the corner. Like Thousand Pieces, this is a real throuple. For real. It is for real a real throuple. Doing small delivery jobs here and there, but he really does want to go back to cruising. And we've seen in this episode that Jessica's a little bit more open to him, perhaps, as a last resort, going back and making that type of money. What are your thoughts on that, Abby?
I don't think it's a good idea. I understand that he enjoyed the job and he enjoyed the money. But I don't really think, I personally don't think that when you have a small child, well, small children, including her other children, that it's a really functional way to live if other options are available. I don't think that he gets to skip out on being a present and available dad just because he doesn't want to do a different kind of job. That's my opinion.
What do you guys think? Let me know. Danielle arrives, and Danielle from 90 Day Fiance, the resort one, not the resort one.
She was on Love Paradise, Love in Paradise.
Yeah, Love
to
in
start with, and then she was on Happily Ever After, right?
Yeah. And they bring her in because she has a similar background and similar cheating background. Both of their spouses work in hospitality, and the whole long distance of it all. So, as you guys may or may not have known, Johan and Danielle went through a crazy, like, I still can't believe they're back together, but they went through a crazy stuff. And I love Danielle, you guys. I love her. I love that she's direct and honest, but I was even shook by this. Like, I couldn't believe that they got back together, but love is love. And she explains how she was able to move forward once he acknowledged that he hurt her and he apologized. And I thought that was very big of her, because I know for a fact the things that I heard about how he was cheating in multiple ways, I wouldn't be able to get past it. But that's just me. You guys already know. I told you, like, I cannot forgive and forget like that when it comes to cheating, because I will always think you are that person. And I read something online yesterday, and it rings so true, you guys. Do you know that you're only going to meet this person one time? And even though you're meeting the same person, if you've lied to them, you've cheated on them, you stole from them, and they forgive you, you're not going to meet the original version. You're going to meet the version that had been lied to, cheated on, whatever. And that person is never going to be the first person you met.
Oh, ever. Absolutely.
And so
I remember reading. Yep. Sorry. No, I remember reading a men's thread where it was like, men, give your best advice to other men in the thread. And one of the men said, if you cheat on your wife, she might stay, but she'll never be the same.
That's it.
So they know it too.
Yeah. And so keep that in your minds, you guys, because yes, you can take a person back and whatever works for you and however you feel and all the things, but you're never the same person. And on both ends, you're never the same person, and you don't show up for that person as the same person. It's impossible to do. So we also get Megan, who like 1,000 Pieces said, this is the real throuple. And she even thinks it. She's like, well, I've been there with this relationship since day one. Ma'am, do you not have your own full-on husband and child? Or maybe, I don't know if they have a child, but I know she has a husband for sure. A full-on husband. I am sticking to what I told you. Whatever it is, the 10 feet deep, whatever. I know I'm making it worse, but I'm 10 toes in. That she's in love with Jessica. She's in love with Jessica. If she could be with Jessica, she would. I firmly believe it. Can't change my mind about it. She's too deeply in. Like, even when you have the bestest of bestest of bestest friends, it's not this.
Yeah.
You're crying, and then you're offended by a relationship you're not even in.
And then she was able to watch herself back and still had no kind of, yeah, I took it a little too far. Or, yeah, that was an overreaction on my part. She was like, oh no, oh no. I'm going to come out here and just double down on everything I did and said. It's interesting. Maybe their town is so small that she can't explore other interests. And so this is just all she has to focus on in life.
That's outrageous. And then when she said no, be bi, when asked, like, are you going to just let us be and step aside? She was that, no. And not just no, be bi. I was like, if I could just jump into the screen right now and say a little something, I would. And yeah, Juan has every reason not to like her because she is doing way too much in this relationship. And my question to you, Abby, is do you think that Jessica should jump in and have a conversation with her best friend, Megan?
Yeah, she definitely needs to say, hey, Megan, I know that in the past we've operated this way, but it's detrimental to my relationship. So I need you to pull back some. And I'm going to also pull back on sharing certain things with you. But also, Megan, friend to friend, sometimes you just have to let your friend fail. Like, if you really see this relationship as a failure and his refusal to take one of the jobs you recommended him for as a failure, sometimes you just have to let your friend fail.
Yeah, I agree. This is the only thing that I agreed with Amani with. The only thing that I've been agreeing with her this whole season is she turned to Megan and she's like, but what I don't understand was, why is Megan crying? That's same. I don't understand it either. Why are you crying, Megan? Why are you crying? Danielle, good advice. Danielle said, their relationship has to be more important than your relationship. Do you understand that? And I'm going to just jump on what Danielle said. Also, Megan, how do you have all this time? You have your whole own husband. You have a whole husband of your own. Pay attention to that relationship and you won't be worried about this relationship.
Right.
Like,
You said you're close. You said you're close to some other towns. Like, take up country line dancing or something. There's got to be other things that you could spend your time on. Okay.
Go and spend time with your own husband.
Extended family, there's options out there.
Spend time with your husband.
She forcing Herbie to spend time with Juan.
So yeah, apparently they have been a reference. By they, I mean Megan and her husband have been references for Juan, and he allegedly has turned down 50 jobs, which I find hard to believe. And even one of the cast members said, "Are there even 50 jobs in your little town?" Why?
I'd be so pissed if my husband turned down 50 jobs just because he didn't think he was good enough for it. Because you can take a job and then just be working towards something else, but just be sitting around turning down jobs because you think they're beneath you. That would frustrate me so much.
But is that what he's saying? Is he saying that he thinks it's beneath him, or is he saying it's something that he's not happy doing? Because he is a delivery driver, right? So he obviously doesn't think everything is beneath him.
Yeah, well, okay. He didn't say it was beneath him. He said he wasn't interested in those jobs.
Mm-hmm. So you still the same point?
Same point. I had so many jobs when Taylor was little that I wasn't interested in. At one point, I was working at Barney's. I was doing like special events at the Civic Center on the side, like on weekends to make extra money. That's how I actually met Elton John and T-Pain. Um, and I was also working at a methadone clinic. Like I've worked so many jobs that I didn't particularly care for to get to where I wanted to go and get through law school because I had a kid.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a choice when you have a kid to just lamp.
I agree. I don't think you have a choice, period, when you have bills to pay. And if you have bills to pay and then you have a kid on top of that and a spouse on top of that, then you may not like what you're doing, but you're going to do it so that you guys can survive.
Exactly. And lighten the load of your spouse.
Mm-hmm. When asked why they're staying in Wyoming, Juan said it's because, his kid, but also, Jessica has 2 kids with someone else. And so that's a whole situation. She can't just pick up and leave because her ex has partial custody of the children as well. Do you want to speak on that a little bit, Abby, from a legal perspective?
Yeah, so it sounds like they have shared custody, the way that she described that they split the week. So she would not be able to make a unilateral decision to move to another state. She would have to get permission from the father if she wants to keep, anything similar to the same arrangement, which if she moves, it'll have to be like somebody has weekends, whether it's her that has weekends or him that has the weekends, their arrangement is going to have to change if she moves to another town that's not driving distance to the school away. So it's not up to her only whether or not she moves. And some people would see that as detrimental to the children to even consider that. If they right now, I believe she said that their houses are so close the kids can walk from her house to their dad's house.
Mm-hmm.
Like to give up that kind of situation for her children to move somewhere else, some people would have opinions about that, of whether that's a good thing or not. A judge might even step in and say, no, I'm not going to allow you to take this kind of action when the kids are so used to this arrangement that's very happy for them.
Yep. My next note just says Megan's outrageous. I'll leave that with you because that's all the note says. And Juan does, reminisce about how much money he used to make on the cruise ships. And I didn't know, y'all, I don't know what his job was on the cruise ship, but he's making $900 in tips alone a day. I believe it because, when some of those people are cruising, they're cruising.
Oh, absolutely. I totally believe what he said that he makes in tips per day. Why isn't nobody asking why they don't have a door? Nobody asked, why don't you have a door?
It was pre-tips. It's pre-tips, Abby, pre-tips.
I want them to have a door on their bedroom.
I mean, there's a lot of questions that weren't asked that, I don't know. I don't know who's running the show, but we do find out that he gets a lot of attention online and he does respond to some of his DMs. And listen, y'all, I am not a jealous person at all. But what you're not about to do is, especially if you're on TV, is respond to riffraff telling you that they would do such and such and such if you leave your spouse. Don't respond to that. I get respond to like a fan hello or we love you guys on the show or something like that. But when it's a overt gesture that's disrespectful to your spouse, I think that you should not be responding to that. Your thoughts, Abby?
So this is actually my first question to you. I told Linda earlier that I had just some questions about immigrants in general. So I have noticed that there are certain people, Johan was like this, Michael was like this, who literally think that it is a lack of manners or lack of etiquette if you don't respond to DMs that you receive on Instagram in particular, but I'll say just social media in general. Is that a cultural thing?
Mm-hmm. I've had to learn my way out of it. I've had to learn my way out of it because, first of all, there's just no way I can respond to. There's just so you guys know on the melanated pages, there's just no way I can respond to all the messages. it's just impossible. And I would drive myself crazy trying to respond because, thank you for following, thank you for engaging, thank you for this, all of this stuff. And then I had to just stop. I had to just say, this is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So it absolutely is like a cultural, you want to be kind to everyone. But also, too, some of y'all don't deserve kindness. Some of y'all run up amok, not only in the DMs, but in the comment section. And it's clear that, some of y'all aren't happy with your own lives.
So that's another conversation that you need to have with your immigrant partner about expectations of etiquette on social media, because some of them tend to think that they're doing the right thing by responding to some of these messages. So that's a conversation to have and set some expectations around.
Facts. Hi, Lori. Hey, girl. Hey. So far, recap. Amani has fought with Shakina. Amani has fought with Sarper. Amani is about to start fighting with someone else as well. Then we have Shakina and Danielle are about to get into this fight. So they had an online fight, and it stemmed from Danielle reaching out only to Sarper, which is something that we're seeing as a pattern, right? Because Amani only to Sarper, Danielle to Sarper, but reached out to Sarper, wished them luck on their tell-all, and didn't reach out to Shakina. Shakina took offense to that. However, Danielle said, I wish both of you well. I just happened to send the message to Sarper. Then Danielle goes on to say that Sarper and Shakina are paying for press interviews, and they adamantly deny that. Now, is that something that happens? It does, you guys. People get paid to do interviews, and people pay to do interviews. It's all part of press and all of that. So whatever you believe is happening with Shakina and Sarper in Hollywood. That doesn't happen. And then Danielle also accuses Shakina of buying bots online, specifically on Instagram, to leave nasty message and comments underneath her posts. Is that would you spend money on that, you guys? I don't know. This seems weird.
I wouldn't spend money on that, but as a person who follows Danielle on social media, I love her just the same way that you do, and I enjoy her content. But there are things that she does that I think legitimately she gets her own hate on its own. There are things that she stands for and talks about. Just for one example, she is very big on advocating for immigrants. That is something that will just draw a lot of hate to you. A lot of hate comments that I get on my professional Instagram are people who just hate immigrants. And so because of the subject matter she chooses to talk about, she's unfortunately just going to draw a lot of hateful comments on her own without anybody having to put someone else up to it. And then she also, she's very body positive. She wears whatever she wants to. And there are people, men and women alike, who hate on her for that. So she does draw her own. When she kind of said, you get enough hate all by yourself, I was like, that is true. Danielle gets a lot of hate. She's a great person. But when you choose to stand for something, you draw out people who are hateful.
It's a very, very good point. Thanks for sharing that. So Danielle and Shakina, no love lost. They were asked if they feel like they should apologize to each other, and they both adamantly denied that request. Go backstage, and now this was so weird to me. Madi all of a sudden took offense to Danielle, and all over these press interviews, and I was like, "What do you even know about it? You've been here for 5.5 seconds.
Yeah,
What do you?"
I was like, there's got to be some kind of interpretation that we don't know about that happened in this situation, because why does he care?
Not just why does he care, he got so riled up, and then literally confronted her, was finger pointing in her face, and she was like, you better cut that out. Everyone started freaking out. And then he's like, not only was he mad about the press interviews, he was like, "You were attacking Shakina." Well, Shakina's not even in the room. I haven't even to interact once. So what are you up in arms about exactly? It was weird.
It was
So
incredibly bizarre.
yeah. So I'm just confused. What are you so upset about? And that should have been a question that was asked, because it just didn't make any sense. I don't know if he felt like he had to have his 5 minutes of drama. I don't know, but it was super just random. Sarper hears Danielle talking about Shakina backstage, and he finally comes to Shakina's defense and is basically like, "Stop talking about my wife," and goes on to say that Danielle's the most hated cast member, which I will have to disagree with. I do not think Danielle is the most hated cast members. I can list some hated cast members. Danielle is not one of them. Okay?
Danielle is not a most hated cast member at all.
There are way more hated cast members, y'all. And if you don't know that, then you haven't been watching since day one. You guys, let me know who you think some of the hated cast members are. I'm curious to know, because, like I said, I could name 5 right now. Pow, just off the top of my head. Angela, yeah, you are not wrong. You are not wrong. So everyone's yelling at everyone, and my favorite, Big Ed, Angela. See how quickly that went, y'all. You see how quickly that went. Everyone's yelling at everyone. My favorite part of the whole season, you guys, the entire season, was with Aaliyah. So you can imagine it's riff raff, screaming and yelling and pointing and cussing. And all you see Aaliyah doing is like this. Pretend this is my plate. My eyes are darting to the left, to the right, to make sure that my food is protected. And I'm just going to go ahead and eat. It was my favorite part. Favorite. She was like, "I will not be involved in the hoorah-rah, but what I will do is
eat."
Oh, look, my face is eat. My face froze. There we go.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to say her name. I'll refer to as Big Back. Oh Lord.
You might be talking about Angela, or who else would you be talking about?
Tanya says she can list at least 20 people above her.
Absolutely. Danielle doesn't even make my show. I wouldn't even put her anywhere near the most hated people in 90 Day Fiance universe.
No, it's not true.
No,
it's not true. The other person. Sorry?
No, I think she's more beloved. She'd be like, if you were doing a scale with like the most hated over here and like the most beloved, I think she'd fall more on the beloved side.
Mm-hmm. The other girls that had me giggling were the 2 Black girls. So here's the thing, okay? Mina, I loved how she kind of stayed out of all the drama and left it kind of to her own. And Joan, although I hated her attitude this whole tell-all, I did notice that she backstage was just like, "I'm not getting involved in whatever this brawl is." Thought that was funny as well. Moving on to Mark and Mina. They are living in Boston currently, and Mina is loving it. They're deciding whether they're going to be staying in Boston, Paris, south of France, or New Hampshire. Who knows? They could end up anywhere, but their first priority really is uniting their family. Now, Shawn, for the first time, addressed some online rumors, and I thought it was interesting that it was with Mina that she decided that she was going to address the online rumors. So, online, the allegations were that 8 years ago, Mina was an exotic dancer, and that's how she met Mark. And she's like, "You know what? It's true. I was a dancer. We didn't meet in a club, though, but I was a dancer when I met him." So she made it clear that, yeah, that's happened. What we do find out as well is that everyone's a dancer. Everyone's a dancer. So Mina was a dancer in Exotic Club. Mark used to be a bartender in Exotic Club. Sarper, we already know, was an exotic dancer, aka Alex. Random, weird, such a. Mina's stage name was Divine, and I thought it was funny because she was using her cousin's name as her aka. Annie, we know, is a dancer, and Ade is her stage name. Then, of course, because Matt and Amina cannot be left out of anything, Amina says, "Oh, and guess what? Matt used to be a dancer too. He used to go by the name of Hudson." Do I believe it? Not 100%, because, I don't believe it. Do you guys believe it that Matt used to be an exotic dancer? I'm going to need to see some photos.
I mean, I can believe it, but I can also understand why you doubt anything that they say.
Yeah, because I feel like, listen, they want to get in where they fit in, you guys, and I just think it's sad. I just looked at them like, oh, you two are the sad little couple that just want to fit in, and no one wants you to fit in because you guys are also weird and mean.
Mm-hmm.
We find, and then Jordan comes out. Now, when I tell you that Jordan was doing the worldwide apology tour, I think that Jordan saw how the fans were reacting to how she was mean girling and just overall being nasty to Mina. And she saw this online, so that by the time that she came to the tell-all, she switched it up. I was like, is this the same girl? She's trying to be super soft. She's trying not to be confrontational. She fixed her face, all the things. They acknowledged how she bullied Mina about the baby, about the green card, being there just for a green card, about the house, wanting the house, about the money, wanting all of Mark's money. And then she literally said her biggest issue was with them having a baby. And I just find that kind of disgusting. That's your sister. So to me, you're just still thinking about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because she's like, it would be awkward for us to be pregnant at the same time. Girl, nobody's thinking this show is not about your life.
That's it. That's it. So,
and when I said this show, I'm not talking about 90 Day. I'm talking about their actual, their life is not about your life.
Their relationship is not your life. They're both grown.
Exactly.
They can do what they want, and it has nothing to do with you. You want to have a baby, and she wants to have a baby at the same time. Oh well, that's life. It's not necessarily
Exactly.
fit into the parameters that you want it to fit into, nor should it have to. But we do find out.
Mm-hmm. Now, your father decided to have a relationship with someone who said beforehand that she wanted more kids. It wasn't a surprise to him to have this information.
That's right. Jordan does
So,
admit he was quick to judge Mina, and Mark also takes responsibility for creating the situation because, he did play both sides against each other. And so I thought that was big of him to actually step up and say, yeah, I'm part of the problem as well. Jordan then on national TV apologizes to Mina. But on the flip side, when Mina is joking, so no, Mark is joking. Mark says, "Oh, I'm glad to hear that because Mina is pregnant." Jordan, they zoom to Jordan's face so quickly, you guys. And when I say her face fell, She was not happy. And then Mark's like, "Oh, just joking." So you could tell that the apology that she quickly gave was not from a real place, y'all.
right.
So we find out that she just got her green card, and they are now gonna, in the next couple of weeks, go and see Clayton. She hasn't seen Clayton in 11 months because you can't leave the country until you have your paperwork. So she did.
Well, let's speculate a little bit here.
Can I just finish my thought? Can I just finish my
sorry.
one thought? Sorry. So one of the things is she hasn't seen Clayton in 11 months, and then I do also want you to pick up or elaborate on whether or not they're going to be able to bring him back, because that's what they think that they're going to do.
So I was surprised when they said that she hasn't seen him in 11 months because when you put in your application for your green card, you can also put in an application for a travel permit so you can travel while your green card is processing. So the decision to wait until she got her green card to go see her son, I want to speculate why would they do that as opposed to requesting the travel permit and then traveling while the green card is pending? Because they could have done a 2-week trip to go visit him easily if they got the travel permit. Why would they choose not to?
Mm, good question.
That was interesting to me because she misses him so much. Why not, take a quick jaunt over there?
And
He's
then,
financially capable.
yeah,
That
it's a good.
was I didn't really understand that. And then will they be able to bring him back? Yeah, he said we're hoping to be able to bring him back, but he didn't say what has been done to be able to bring him back. Have they submitted an I-130, a family petition for his stepfather to now petition for him? Have they been able to resolve the issue of him not having a passport so that if he goes to an interview to get his visa, if Mark did file a petition for him, that he'll be able to have his own passport to travel on? They just said, we hope we're going to be able to bring him back with no further details, which is their business. They don't have to tell us what the details are, but there's just a lot of requirements in there that are not being explained.
And I really wish they would because it is an international show. So I wish that those were some of the things that we would learn about because that's part of the whole process, right? That's part of like the 90 days and marrying internationally and all of that. So, you know, it would be good if they talked about it a little bit.
Correct.
Sarper then does his little 2-minute stand up, and he was funny. Basically, he's talking about the throuple and everyone texting and how, long story short, between having to do all the things all the time, never ending requests, etc., multiply that by 2. That was like the punchline.
Right. I want to say something about Serper. I enjoy the fact that even though he wants to be a comedian, I think people can take note of this. Like, if you are on the show because you do want to be kind of like a standout character and be able to use this to launch you into something else, he doesn't take up space. He does a very good job of making his own comments or asking questions in time. He doesn't overstep other people or dominate the conversations. He gets in his comments and then, gives other people space to talk to. He does a very good job of that.
Mm, I agree.
And it's easier for him to be likable coming out of the show than somebody like a Minnie who is constantly inserting themselves into conversation and creating the drama. So, like, if you're really going on the show because you want to be like a breakout, standout character, I think he's a good example to follow.
Take note, y'all. Take note. We move on to Shawn and Aaliyah. This was funny. It was funny, but like, I don't know. So Shawn, the host, is doing her intro of Shawn and Aaliyah, and Shawn, from the couple, cuts off Shawn host's intro and says, "Can't do this anymore. Can't put up with this," and walks off the stage. There's a dramatic pause, and really, Maudie had some hair out of place, and as a hairdresser, Shawn just couldn't stand it anymore and went over to fix it. Meanwhile, Aaliyah, they zoom back to Aaliyah and Aaliyah's face. Obviously, she wasn't a part of whatever this little joke thing was going to be because her face dropped. She looked like she was going to cry and literally said it almost had a heart attack, and it looked that way. They are adjusting to their marriage. Aaliyah's like, this marriage is not my dream, but we were both moving forward, and we're both moving forward in a lot of change. And they bring on Kenny and Armando, as well as Jackie, who's in studio. So Kenny and Armando zoomed in from Mexico. Jackie was in studio. And it was a lot of conversation about being in a real, and I got to give it to both Shawn and Aaliyah, because I wouldn't know how to maneuver this constantly changing, evolving relationship, because you met Douglas, and according to Jackie, Douglas was scared, quiet, and timid, and then you're transitioning and becoming Aaliyah, who is more proud, more bold, more confident, and becoming who she is. And so, what does that look like for not only Aaliyah and not only Shawn, but their relationship? Now, do I think Aaliyah scored in relationship? Absolutely, because it's very rare, and I think it has to do with his age as well. But it's very rare that someone's like, I'm going to be there no matter what. I'm going to be there for you. Maybe it's not going to be in a romantic situation. He never said that, but whatever it is, I will always be there for you. And I thought that was beautiful. What were your thoughts, Abby?
I thought so too. So my read on Shawn during this conversation was different than in the past. I thought Shawn was being flighty and non-committal, but my read on him in this episode was, oh, he doesn't want to say yes or no because he wants to give Aaliyah space to make her own decision about her body without his influence. And I didn't see it that way before.
Yeah, I'm glad that he shared that, because that's something that stood out to me as well. That's why I was like, she really did luck out in a partner, because I don't know if there are people that are that self-aware, right? Most people are selfish and are like, this is what I want, this are my needs, what I got to do, and want you to work around that. And he realized that even his words are influential in his relationship, which was great to see. However, he, did he stumble? Yes, he took his honeymoon without Aaliyah. He left her for a month. Went to Florida and the Dominican Republic, and Aaliyah thinks that Shawn did that because he was mad, and he still was mad about the wedding and her being 2 hours late for the engagement and then an hour and 45 minutes late for the wedding. He was just fed up. But also, Abby, if she didn't have her green card at that, you answered that, she could have gotten a travel
permit.
Mm-hmm.
Or he could have just vacationed somewhere else. There are places in the US that you can vacation.
Well, he was in Florida, so he was in the US, right?
Yeah, and then he went to the Dominican Republic. Okay, you could have just hung out in Miami. Correct. I agree.
He's a good partner in that respect, but doesn't know if what they have will always fall under the heading marriage. You're right. You're right. It's definitely a evolving relationship.
It's already questionable now, because if they're not they call themselves having an open marriage, right? But they're not being intimate with each other while Shawn is having other partners. So, like, legally, they are married, but most people would probably not define that as a marriage.
I mean, y'all already know what I think. So, listen, you already know.
I think it falls more under, like, I'll be really honest, and I actually, when people get married for the sake of immigration, I actually don't really care. But I think this is one of those situations where if there was an option for Aaliyah to live in the United States where marriage was not required, then that would have been a better situation for both of them. And he could have continued to be supportive of Aaliyah and whatever changes that she wanted to make, and probably still would have been supportive of those things without having to call this a marriage.
Yeah, and I think that they said that, right? Shawn actually said, like, if they didn't have to get married, he would have preferred not to have. And I think Aaliyah felt the same way, but this was the only way to get her over here. So,
yeah, that's a really sad limitation on immigration that we have here in the US.
Mm-hmm. So Shawn doesn't know where they're going to land at the end of all of it. But like Abby put so well earlier, her body, her choice, and Shawn doesn't want to answer or influence any of her decisions. So he's not giving an answer about where and what she should do and where they end up, because quite frankly, he doesn't know. It ends with Aaliyah reading a really beautiful text that she pre-wrote, because when she gets emotional, she can't get her words out as articulately as she would like. And when I say I was in tears and that whole room was in tears, even the Hardys in the room, they were all in tears. That little message, Shawn, really had everyone welled up, and it was really quite beautiful. And at the end, when she said, "I will love you in all my versions," I was just like, that's it. And it's a wrap, y'all. That's all it needed to be, was a wrap like that. Go backstage, Amani again. I know I'm saying her name wrong. Amini. Is fangirling Sarper again, and it was just cringe. It was so cringe, you guys, because you could just see the little desperation of wanting to be accepted and acknowledged. And she wants everyone to hang out still. And I talked about it at the top of the show. Same thing. Everyone's leaving. Jessica and Juan were the first to leave. And I laughed because Jessica was like, "No, I'm out. I'm going to my babies. Peace out. This was fun. We're out of here." Even if Juan wanted to hang out, he was not about to hang out. Jessica's like, "Peace out." Then Sarper and Shakina left and said goodbye to everyone except for Matt and Amani. And Amani was trying to say goodbye to them, and they just kept walking. And she like turned around all stunned. But I hate the fake the funk people, y'all. Don't fake the funk, right?
Exactly.
We did not get along this whole episode, and you're then going to pretend and want to say bye and hug, kiss. No, don't fake the funk like that. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, she rubs people the wrong way. Stevie and Madi left, and Amani rushes to say goodbye, and Stevie was not having it. Same thing. But you were just back here talking crazy to me and pointing and saying all the things, and now you want to... Nah. Stevie's like, "Peace out, we're good."
I love that. Stevie was like, "We don't need to do that."
Yep. Joan and Greg were leaving, and again, Matt and Amani were right there, but Joan and Greg stopped and said goodbye to them. Matt and Mina left, and it was very quick. They were cordial, but it wasn't a like, "Hey, I'll see you soon." It was like, "Okay, nice to meet you, goodbye." And then finally, and Shawn left, and again, it was a short like goodbye. Last, Matt and Amani still sitting there in their slippers, trying to like kick it, like, "Oh, maybe this is the last time we're going to be backstage. I want to soak it all up. Maybe the cameras will continue to roll on us." But then this made me laugh. A producer, as soon as they finally see, because the producers can't leave, right? They're there, but they're also in charge of talent. So you got to wait till all your talent is situated. It's a whole thing. Finally, they're leaving, and that producer jumped out and was like, "Bye," kind of like, "Bye, you see ya." And of course they're leaving with drama, because as she's walking out, Amani's now complaining about Annie again and what she said on the tell-all, and whether or not she can trust her.
Ridiculous. Yes, Becca, I think they did stay past closing time. Okay. Don't invite them over your house. They don't know when to leave. They don't take context clues.
Yeah, you got to go. You don't got to go home, but you got to get out of here. All right, you guys, we finally made it through season 11 of 90 Day Fiance. We are going to jump right into, Abby, you want to tell them?
Yes, you guys, there is a new season of Match Me Abroad. So we're going to start that on Friday.
Match Me Abroad Friday. We're doing that new season. So come through and check it out, you guys. And until then, next time, bye. Hopefully you guys pray that Streamer will start working properly again, so we won't have all these technical difficulties. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.